Welcome to my channel, Weaving Weird Studio. My name is Sig. In today's popular culture, we have adopted the mythology that zombies are usually created by a parasitic virus or as a result of exposure to some nefarious designer chemical. Either way, the unfortunate victim develops an insatiable appetite for brains and violence, becoming every living thing's worst nightmare. However, truth is often stranger than fiction. It is suggested that the word zombie actually came from the Congo word Nzambi, roughly translated to mean spirit of a dead person. In some places like Haiti, a zombified person was believed to have first committed some offense or grave affront or crime against their family or the community at large. He or she was then made into a zombie as an appropriate punishment, following careful and sometimes not so careful consideration. This zombie punishment required specific religious rituals, a powerful neurotoxic powder, and a skilled magical practitioner. In effect, when the properly prepared powder is given in the right dosage, the victim's metabolic system slows down to such a degree that the person is mistaken for as dead. After the victim is officially recognized as dead and presuming they had actually survived the original dosing, they would then be maintained in a kind of cataleptic state or drugged to the point of a mental stupor that leaves them unaware of painful stimuli, severely dulling their mental acuity, and of course leaving them susceptible to the whims of their masters. But I digress. Back to the pop culture vision of a zombie, and for today's video, I will be showing you step by step how to make this adorable, hungry zombie. Welcome back. We'll begin with a size D hook, an embroidery needle, a yarn needle, a pair of scissors, craft glue, green yarn size 3, 65 count long chain in red or pink yarn, 1 button, 2 eyes, a keychain ring, optional, a swatch of beige felt, red, black, and white embroidery floss, and stuffing. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to start off by making an adjustable ring. And in that adjustable ring, we're going to put 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to pull the ring tight. And then make a slip stitch. Chain 1. And in the same stitch, chain 2 single crochets. And in each following stitch after that, chain 2 single crochets. That will leave us with a total of 12 single crochets in round 2. Okay, I'm going to do another slip stitch, and I am going to do a chain, and then from here in rows 3 through 10, I'm going to do a single crochet in each stitch. So we're beginning row 3, and from row 3 to row 10, we will have a single crochet stitch in each stitch. So there will be 12 stitches for each row. This is also a good time to let you know that it's entirely up to you if you want to do the yarn over technique or the yarn under technique. There are different reasons for why you might do either one. I'm going to be doing the yarn over technique for this project. If you want more information as to what the difference is, I will have a video either out soon, or you just click over to my playlist and it will be in the how to crochet tutorial section, and I'll be discussing the differences and why one might be used over the other. Okay, I'm going to get through row 10 here. And so now I'm going to do a slip stitch. I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to lightly fill this arm with some fiber fill, a little stuffing. Okay, just like so. I think that's about enough. And now I'm going to go ahead and put my hook in and single crochet the opening closed. So I'm going to put it through the two sets of stitches, and I'm going to do that 6 times across the opening of this arm. This will be row 11. And then I'm going to finish that off, but I'm going to leave a pretty good sized tail because I want to use that yarn to sew this onto my body when we get there. So I want to do 1 and 2. So we'll set those aside now. And we're going to get started with the legs. We're going to want to make 2 of these as well, of course. We're going to also begin with a slip stitch or an adjustable ring. And we're going to do 6 single crochets within that adjustable ring, much like the arm. And we're going to continue as we did the arm. So we have our 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to pull that ring closed. We want a tight ring. And then I'm going to slip stitch into that next stitch, or the very first single crochet that we made. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet 2 in that same stitch. And then I'll continue to chain 2 in each additional stitch for a grand total of 12 stitches. 11 and 12. I'm going to slip stitch, chain 1, and that will put us at row 3. Now from row 3 to row 8, we are going to single crochet 1 in each stitch, so that we'll have a total of 12 stitches in each row from row 3 to row 8. Okay, so now that I've completed row 8, I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to add I'm going to connect leg 1 to leg 2. I'm going to connect them at the seam, basically with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch. And then I'm going to continue to single crochet in each stitch all the way around to make a total of 24 stitches. Okay, I'm going to join with a slip stitch. And now we've just completed row 9 and we have 24 stitches all the way around. Now we're going to begin to get started with the body. And as is typical, I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet in the next stitch. And then I'm going to do 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And then I'm going to do a single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And I'm going to repeat this all the way around. Okay, now that we've completed row 10, we're going to go ahead and just chain 1, of course, to begin our row 11, single crochet in that same stitch, and then we're going to single crochet in each additional stitch all the way around. This should give us approximately 36 stitches. And we will do this for rows 11, of course, all the way through 14. So rows 11, 12, 13, and 14 will be a single stitch all the way around with 36 stitches. Okay, so now that we've completed row 14, go ahead, slip stitch and make a chain. We're going to begin to decrease. Now with this, I'd like us to go ahead and do an invisible decrease. And I will show you what we will need to do. So we basically need to do our single crochet in the same stitch. And then I want to do an invisible decrease in the next stitch. And then I'm going to do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then I am going to do an invisible decrease. So again, single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 1 invisible decrease, and continue that all the way around. Okay, now with row 16, we're going to go ahead and single crochet all the way around, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. And then for row 17, you can go ahead and single crochet, begin in that same stitch that you just made your chain. And then the next stitch, do your invisible decrease, and then a single crochet. And then your next stitch, an invisible decrease, and then a single crochet, and then an invisible decrease. Continue this alternating pattern all the way around. And then for row 18, single crochet each stitch all the way around. So again, single crochet in that same stitch as the chain, and then continue around it. Each stitch getting a single crochet. So now is a good time to start stuffing the body. And get your body stuffed pretty good. I'm going to begin row 19 with another single crochet all the way around. And then for row 20, we're going to start to decrease again. So I've got my single crochet in the same stitch as my chain. And then I'm going to go ahead and do an invisible decrease again. And then a single crochet. And an invisible decrease. And then a single crochet. All the way around. I'm going to continue that pattern. And at this point, I'm going to fasten this off. And I'm going to stuff the body some more. This time I'm going to give it a really good stuffing. And while I'm stuffing it, I'm going to also shape it. I now finish doing that, and we will be right back. So now we've finished the body. It's good and stuffed. It's well bloated, perfect for a zombie. And now we're going to get started on the head. So let's just put the body aside for the moment. And with the head, we're going to pretty much start as we have so far, and as we might with any spherical shape. And that's going to be with the adjustable ring and single crocheting 6 single crochets in the adjustable ring. Okay, so we got 6. And again, as usual, we're going to tighten up that ring. And I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the very first single crochet of this row 1. Okay, so now with row 2, as we have already before, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to single crochet 2 single crochets in that first stitch. And then we're going to continue to single crochet 2 single crochets in each additional stitch, leaving us with a total of 12 stitches for round or row 2. Okay, so again, slip stitch, chain. All right, so in row 3, I am going to single crochet in the same stitch as my chain 1. And then I'm going to do one more single crochet in that same stitch. Then I'm going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch after that, giving me a total of 24 stitches. So now that I have my 24 stitches, I'm going to go ahead again and I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet of row 3. I'm going to make my chain. And then rows 4 through 9, I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet in each of the next 23 stitches. So for rows 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we're going to end up with 24 stitches all the way around. Now in row 10, we're going to do things a little differently. So we've got our chain, and then I'm going to do a single crochet in that first loop of the same stitch. Then the next stitch, I will do another single crochet in the front loop. And I'm going to do that all the way around. So for the whole row of 10, I'm going to single crochet in each consecutive front loop of each stitch. Okay, so now we've completed row 10. You can go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet of the row 10 and then make your chain. And then this time, we're going to go ahead and do our single crochet for, I suppose we'll call it row 11, in that back loop. Okay, so right back there. So we'll begin to do our single crochet all the way around in that back loop. So now the reason for this is because this part is going to be the head, and this is the brow part of the zombie head, where it's the brow and where the skull actually ends, and now we're setting up a base for the brains to sit on, or to be exposed, I guess is a better way of phrasing it. So I'm going to continue with our single crochet in the back loop all the way around for a total of 24 stitches. Okay, so let's go ahead and again slip stitch, chain, and so now we're going to start row 12, and in row 12 we're going to chain, well, we got our chain, and then we're going to single crochet in the same stitch, and then I'm going to do an invisible decrease in the next stitch, and then single crochet, and then invisible decrease, and then single crochet, and then invisible decrease all the way around. Okay. Then again, we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet in the same stitch, and this is for row 13. And then we're going to do an invisible decrease, and then a single crochet, and an invisible decrease, and then a single crochet. And we're going to continue that pattern all the way around. Okay, so what we're going to do now that we're here, we've just completed row 14, and what we want to start doing is we want to start stuffing the head. And then the head we're going to stuff really well, but we want to leave just a little room towards the top so that we can get the keychain situated. And I'll show you how to do that. Let's see, so in order to do the keychain, we're going to have our yarn needle and some yarn. We're going to bring in that button, and then we're going to bring in the keychain. And so I like to use a button when I attach my keychain to these pieces, because it allows more surface area and strength. So the weight of the actual zombie doesn't pull out that keychain by, just by virtue of hanging there. And so I'm going to use this, of course, and this yarn, and we're going to attach this keychain on there, and it gives it a really nice anchor too. And so you can see that that's just really not going to go anywhere. And then I'm going to put it in the top of the skull. Right? I'm just going to place it right in there. And I'm going to just draw it right through the entire piece. And that'll also help to give it some additional strength. That'll anchor it to the actual stuffing. And since the stuffing won't really be moving, because before we close up the head, we're going to make sure that we stuff it some more. It's going to be a really solid piece for you. And a very inexpensive and great trick. So now that we have that in there, I can put that aside. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff it a little more. And we're going to try to get in there and around this, and we're really going to try to get that stuffing in there so we can really give it a good anchor, really make the head solid and give it the shape that we're looking to give it. Okay, let me finish doing this and we'll be right back. Okay, you can see we've got this really stuffed in there very well. The keychain isn't going anywhere. And we're going to get ready to close the head up. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another decrease, but I'm going to do a decrease in each stitch as we start working around. Okay, so I cut myself off a nice long tail. And we're going to go ahead and finish stitching that closed. Okay. Good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and fasten this off. And then I'm going to just run this through, just weave it through a little bit, just to add a little more strength. And then what I might even do while I'm weaving it through, I might go ahead and just weave it through that chain a couple of times. There again, if this keychain gets yanked, or once we start putting the weight of the keys on the other end of it, you know, I don't want it to fall apart. So this is just how I do it. All right, so now we got the head, and we're ready to go ahead and start putting the brains in there. So this is our brains. And like brains, it's, you know, it's going to be open to interpretation. It's going to be kind of squiggly, right? So we're going to just kind of sew this in. However you want to sew it in is fine. I'm just going to use the green thread that I already have, the green yarn that I already have. And I'm just going to kind of work that in there in kind of a squiggly shape that, you know, and I'll have enough for one half of the brain, one lobe, and then I'll go over and do the other lobe with the other half of this length of chain stitches. And I will be right back with you. Okay, so now that I've got the majority of my brains in, and I'll still play with that a little bit, now is a good time to actually go ahead and put in that nose with that extra bit of green that I had. left over, that long tail that I kept when I finished off the head. And so all you need to do is figure out where the seam is in the back, so that makes the back of your skull, and then that gives you kind of a visual guideline to figure out where your lobe's going to be. And I'll explain what else I do to bring the brains out a little bit. And so here at the nose, I figure out kind of where I want my nose, and I just satin stitch in the nose. And then when I have it about how I want it to be, then I just go ahead and I weave that yarn into the head. And I trim it off. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish getting the brains in. And when I finish putting in the brains, or at least the red and pink part of the brains, now is actually a really good time to glue the eyes on. So if, for example, you have the type of eyes that I have, which are these little guys right here, they have a flat back. And I'm just going to use my craft glue and I'm just going to glue them on. I got 2 different size eyes so that it makes him look crazed. And then I'm going to give that a chance to dry. And I want it to dry a little bit because before I start embroidering a little more on the face, I want my eyes in place first so that I kind of know where I'm going with all that. Okay, so I'm going to get the eyes on. I've already put my glue there. And we're going to give that a chance to set up and dry for a few minutes before we continue doing any more work. Now, if you have button eyes, just sew those on, or if you're embroidering the eyes, now is a good time to start getting those embroidered on as well. I'm going to let these set up for just a few minutes, and while that's happening, we are going to get started on the body. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do with the body is I want to start thinking about the pants, right? Now, they don't have to be special and they don't have to be too crazy. You know, because, well, it's zombie pants and zombies have put their pants through the ringer. So we're certainly not looking to be fashionable here. Zombie fashion. It's anything you want it to be. So the swatch just needs to be able to wrap around the body like so. And then I'm going to kind of eyeball it. So I'm going to see where my legs are at. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut up the legs because that's where I'm going to close my pants. Let me get a bigger pair of scissors here. Okay, and so I'm just going to kind of see where I'm at with this, and I think I can probably cut right about there. So, yeah, it's all good. I'm going to cut away the excess. And don't worry about making any mistakes because, you know, after all, they're going to be pretty frayed anyways. And this is really all you have to do. And I think I can cut off about that much right there. And I want my pants to be ragged, so I'm going to give it a little fringe. And it's going to make sure my pants fit. Oh yeah. It's going to be pretty cool. Pretty decent if I don't say so myself. So now's a good time to bring in that black embroidery floss. And I'm going to bring my pants down just a little bit. And because this is just crafting felt, it's not going to fray. So it's real simple, easy to use. And we don't have to worry about it being perfect because, well, these are zombie pants after all. So this is how I get it started. I just make little X's along the top, which holds the pants on his body, but also looks, adds a nice little decorative element. Okay, now we're going to position the arms. I want my arms to come out in a kind of a classic zombie sort of a look, so I'll sit here and play with how I think I might want his arms positioned. And I think I want them something like this. So I'll go ahead and tack them on just like so. Now, we got our zombie body, at least at any rate. I'm going to do a little more trimming off his pants here. Give him a slightly more ragged look. All right, so now I think we can work on the head a little more. I think those eyes are pretty good. They've had a chance to dry a little bit. And now still working with my black embroidery floss, I'll get in some of the details around the brain and get the outline for the mouth done. Okay, so I went ahead and just finished him up. As you can see, I put a little bit of black. I just, sewed a little outline of a mouth and did a little bit of a satin stitch to give him teeth, and surrounded his face a little bit with blood here and there with the red embroidery floss. You can see where I just put a little bit of black in the brain to really make it stand out. These guys, you can do them any way you want to. If you want to sew the face on or glue the face on or whatever, whatever it is that you think will make him look cute, or just what you have on hand. These are totally freeform. In other words, they're very much open to interpretation. You can put your own stamp on it. But and you can see how these two guys probably, very similar, from pretty much the same type of pattern, but they have a little different look going on, right? I wonder who bit who first. Anyways. So thank you for joining me today. I really enjoyed our time together. And if you found value in this video, please hit the subscribe and like button. Also, if you want to be notified of any of my new videos that as they come out, go ahead and tap that bell button. Otherwise, stay crafty and we will be seeing you soon. Bye-bye.